Lucas, his soul chose this body, chose us as parents. For the world to care about rare diseases, people's hearts need to be changed. You know, we can't just have money be thrown at the problem.
831 is blindfolded and can no longer see what's going on.
Beast Games application, Mr. Beast. I don't have a job right now. Like, I think I can apply.
$10 million!
It's all a miracle. But it's also tragic to think that I have to go on the largest game show ever for people to know about my son.
You're going! Good job.
Great job, Bear.
I'm Becky Quick. Welcome to The Path from CNBC Cures, a podcast series about the people, the struggles, the science, and sometimes, yes, the miracles of rare disease.
Bye.
I'm a mom of a child with a genetic disease. My 9-year-old daughter, Kaylee, has one of the thousands of rare genetic conditions, diseases, disorders, illnesses that are lurking in the basic code that makes us who we are. Kaylee's condition is called SYNGAP1. She's part of a very small patient group. There are only about 1,700 other people in the world with this diagnosis. Essentially, she only produces about half of the SYNGAP protein that's needed for brain development. That means that she has seizures, developmental delays, and intellectual disabilities. She also has autism and struggles to communicate.
6, good job. 7.
If you've been listening to our podcast or watching our videocast on YouTube, thank you. Thank you so much for opening your hearts to my family and our daughter's story. And thank you for sharing your stories as well to our CNBC Cures email inbox, on social media, and in the YouTube comments. We really love hearing from you. My guest today has a wild story of what happens when you say, "What the heck?" and you do something unexpected for a really good reason.
Most people know me by Jeff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then I'll call you that. Because I'm Rebecca, but I go by Becky because I'm Rebecca when I'm in trouble with my mother. Jeffrey Allen, also known as Player 831, went on a game show fronted by content creator Mr. Beast, and he won.
Jeff Allen, I'm a dad of 2 boys, Lucas and Jack. Lucas has a rare disease called Creatine Transporter Deficiency.
It was all done in the name of raising awareness for, or potentially curing, rare disease.
We found out in 2019, and ever since then, we're trying to spread the word. I was crazy enough to sign up for the Beast Games, the largest competition show in history of the world, to tell his story.
Nice job, buddy.
Jeffrey Allen took an extreme route to tell his family's story. Beast Games Season 1 attracted 50 million viewers in its first 25 days, streaming on Amazon Prime. He joined us on Squawk Box last year to talk about the experience and the public attention. It all sounded very familiar. Our stories and challenges about parenting a child with a rare and specific condition sort of intertwine. And like many rare disease families, it all started out pretty great.
You know, I always knew I wanted to be a dad.
And so then you have your 2 sons, and what did you think about your family life at that point?
It was great. You know, I mean, I grew up with 4 sisters. I always wanted a brother. So when I had Jack, I was like, this is awesome. And then when I had Lucas, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, I have friends who have brothers, and not only are they brothers, they're best friends. And so for me, I go, wow, these are going to be best friends for life, and are going to have families together and hang out together. And so I was super excited about it. And like for me, I live next door to my wife's sister, like literally next door. And I imagine them living next door to each other, and Jen and I get to visit the grandkids. So just, life was good. I was happy.
What happened? When did you first started noticing developmental delays maybe with Lucas? What happened?
Yeah, Lucas was a beautiful boy, like just handsome. Like Jack, his baby pictures, he looked like an old man. But Lucas was just beautiful and handsome, but he was quiet. You know, didn't make a ton of noise, didn't cry a ton. But once I think like 7 or 8 months, when you're supposed to start seeing milestones of like sitting up or crawling differently, Lucas wasn't hitting them.
No. Aqua? No. Please. No.
And Jen's very pragmatic. Like, we should probably check this out. And I'm the optimist, kind of going, he's just a little bit behind, no big deal. We can't compare to Jack. And we kind of met in the middle. We, went to doctors. Pediatrician said everything's good. Then went to kind of an early interventionalist and said, yeah, he's certainly developmentally delayed. But still, these so vague. We don't know what's going on. So our diagnostic odyssey started then, probably at 8 months, and went on for another 1.5 years until we got diagnosed. With creatine transporter deficiency, creatine is one of the primary kind of energy sources, or it's kind of the energy grid of your body and brain. And when you don't have that energy, your muscles don't develop. Also, your brain doesn't develop. So he was hypotonal, meaning he wasn't that strong. So he didn't have the strength to stay seated up. So he kept falling over. And it was like, we were so nervous. We had pads all over our home to protect him. And so that was like the first thing that we noticed. Then we also noticed he wasn't babbling, wasn't, communicating the way his cousins were, or his brother was. So we just said, we need to figure out what this is. Like, something's up. We don't know what it is, but we'd rather err on the side of we tried everything and found out than let's just, kind of be hands off and hope for the best.
Who gave you the diagnosis eventually? What did it take to find it?
Yeah, we first thought he could be deaf. So we went through all the hearing tests. We thought he had some maybe sight issues. We went through that. We hooked him up to kind of every machine. And, finally we got scheduled for an MRI. And we called in a ton of favors, got us in front of the right kind of neurologist who said, in addition to the MRI, you should probably get an MRS, because the MRI
What's an MRS? I don't even know.
It's spectroscopy. So it measures metabolic levels in the brain. So MRI is imaging. Like, what does the brain look like? MRS is the metabolic levels. So the MRI looked perfect. White matter was perfect. The MRS showed that the creatine stopped right at the blood-brain barrier. And that's when we got the diagnosis.
You had to pull in every favor because the system is so hard to navigate that...
Yeah, and yes. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is we're not alone, but as rare disease families, but it's up to us to navigate, even once you have a diagnosis, like working through kind of social workers and trying to make sure you get the services that are needed.
Right.
Are hard. But yeah, for us, like we didn't know what tests we should get. Neither did our pediatrician.
Yeah.
Because it's so unknown. Is like there's no roadmap. There's no playbook.
We went through the same thing with Kaylee too. Everything you're talking about, going through the hearing tests, the vision tests, trying to figure out why there are global developmental delays. There's not a playbook for it.
No. And yeah, and in essence, the system, and again, I'm not kind of coming at the system. They don't know either.
It gets me to the point of thinking that diagnostics is also really important, because we talk about these rare diseases, these ultra rare diseases in some cases. And I don't know about you, but I am convinced that for Kaylee's disease with SYNGAP1, there are so many more people than have been diagnosed with it. It's just really hard to get to that diagnosis.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people give up.
Yeah.
Because it took us 20 months of diligence. It wasn't like, hey, let's try this month. That was the focus of our life, is how do we find a treatment? I think a lot of people either kind of go, okay, my son or daughter's just different, or they kind of give up and go, hey, nobody knows what this is. It's probably some kind of novel mutation. I think there's so many families that don't have the perseverance, and I don't blame them.
I don't either.
To try to find out what it is, because it's hard and it's sad. I just actually remember, talking to Jen. She's like, everything I ever dreamt about with a family, kind of was the opposite of this. It's like I never dreamt of having a family with a child with a condition that we couldn't help, we couldn't solve for.
More? All done. More.
Jeff and his wife, Jen, shared with us photos and videos of Lucas's journey, including the hard stuff, like his baptism. Or this short clip of doctors wheeling off their son in a hospital. As a parent, you're supposed to do everything to protect your child. When you find out that not only can you not protect them, but there are problems you can't fix from such a young age, what did that do to you and to Jen?
We process it differently. If she was able to kind of, I think, own her emotions, and meaning she experienced grief a lot sooner than I did. I was trying to kind of be the rose-colored glasses, dad, and try to, hey, we're gonna figure this out, no big deal. And it wasn't until I actually started doing research and I realized, wow, not only has this condition been around a while, it was discovered in the year 2000. Researchers have been working on it for 20 years and haven't cracked the code. There's no treatment, there's no therapy. So I kind of go, yeah, there's no solution, because it's one thing to getting a diagnosis is bittersweet. Like, it's sweet because you're going, okay, at least now I know. It was super bitter for us because there was no treatment.
Yeah.
And so many challenging conditions, whether it's cancer or heart disease, like, hey, I'm sorry, but you have X cancer. Here's the next steps, or new chemotherapy, or new radiation, whatever it may be. With CTD, here's what you have. There's no next steps.
What is the diagnosis that a doctor will tell you on this?
Yeah, so Creatine Transporter Deficiency, CTD, and there's a lot of creatine studies right now with regard to supplementation. Like, any athlete is taking creatine.
Right.
But now, like, people are taking it for brain health too. So supplementing creatine helps with your body and your brain. Lucas's body makes it naturally. So he has it running through his blood right now. There's a transporter that takes from the blood to the muscles and the blood to the brain. His transporter is defective. So he has everything he needs, but the bridge that takes it from the blood to the brain is broken, and there's no way to bypass currently the blood-brain barrier. So his brain doesn't get the energy it needs to develop. So you think about SYNGAP1, like, he doesn't have the energy to create these synapses.
Bye.
What color is that ball?
Ba.
Is it brown or black?
Ba.
Black.
Ba.
So, I mean, if you look at Lucas, he looks like your everyday kiddo. Where he struggles mostly is with communication, behavioral. Kind of fine motor skills. Like, we've had to work really hard on gross motor, but he can jump, skip, run. He's happy. I mean, he is I look at him, and I played college football. Like, Lucas would have been an athlete. If he was neurotypical like his brother, he would be one of the best on his team. So he has it in him, and he loves playing. But yeah, it's communication, behavioral. His brain doesn't have the energy it needs to function.
This is how I'm gonna teach it for us.
Yeah, that's good, Jim. Even before Beast Games, even before kind of everything changed, like, mine and Jen's goal was to make sure that Jack didn't have to care for Lucas. He would choose to care for him. So meaning, like, it was our job to kind of go, let's try to save as much money as we can. Let's invest wisely so that Lucas can be cared for as he ages, and Jack gets to continue to be his brother first, and then caregiver second. We just didn't want to have to put that burden on Jack as his brother.
But, as a parent, it's your first concern. What happens to my child after me?
And Jack's, being a sibling of a rare disease kid is hard. But Jack has asked me, like, Mom and Dad, like, what happens when you guys aren't here? Like, what happens when you guys die? And I think he asked us at the age of 8, which is just, like, wild.
Yeah.
And, Jen is amazing and doesn't mince words. And, like, we told him, like, this is what it would look like. Here's our goal. And I think we're blessed with a great big family, but at the end of the day, if he needs 24/7 care, I don't want it to fall on Jack. I want Jack to be his brother first.
And I will say, siblings of kids with a rare disease or with any special issues, any health issues, I think grow up to be such empathetic people.
Yeah.
They just see a side of life that not everybody does at a young age.
They grow up fast. They get a lot of perspective early on of what matters. And I think they just have to go through challenges. Like Jack, Jack's head is always on a swivel because if Lucas isn't getting attention from mom or dad and wants it, he goes for Jack. And whether it's he'll take with Jack his iPad or he'll pull Jack.
Hey, sweet boy.
And so Jack is just attentive, and he's now learning how to redirect. And, you know, redirecting
That's hard.
is hard.
Yeah.
You know, and then before I was in kind of the home care space, so caring for older adults, and you learn how to redirect with patients who have Alzheimer's.
Okay, so tell me about this. Your life kind of led into some of these paths, and this was before Lucas was born.
It's bizarre.
What
Yeah.
happened?
So I was always in healthcare. So I just, I started in medical devices, and then I started working for medical device startups. And then once I moved to Silicon Valley, I got into kind of more health tech. And there's a company that I joined named Honor that provides, it's a tech company that is trying to kind of modernize non-medical home care. And that just is caregivers. When you think of caregivers for seniors.
Mhm.
And so I led some teams there. And so I learned all about activities of daily living. So how to help with toileting, how to help with lifting and transferring, all these things that Lucas would eventually need
Mhm.
before Lucas was even born.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I literally started the job the month Lucas was born.
You ever
So-
feel like Lucas was given to you for a reason?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, there's no other explanation. And I also think that it works both ways. Like Lucas, I think Lucas's soul was perfect. And I think Lucas, his soul chose this body, chose us as parents. You know, and I think for us to be the parents of Lucas is an absolute honor. You know, and I think Jen and I like have to do something with it.
I feel the same way about Kaylee.
Yeah.
You said before that you and Jen processed all of this a little differently. How did she process it? How did you process it?
I tend to not think through all the details. So I'm like, okay, we're going to figure it out. You know, I don't know how we're going to figure it out, but, you know, it's more of kind of a North Star, we're going to be good. And Jen immediately and consistently will think about all the stuff that needs to happen.
I love you.
Okay.
Say bye-bye.
It feels like the male-female breakdown is pretty consistently that way. Like, thank God for you, North Stars, but sometimes I want to punch you in the face.
Of course, no, and trust me, Jen wants to do the same thing. But yeah, but it's if it wasn't for like, I have had to lean into her, and she's had to lean into me. So she's
We
become
make each other better. It's
and she's become more optimistic and more kind of okay. Not sure how we're gonna figure it out, but we're going to.
Yeah.
And I become okay. I think we need to call this social worker. I think we need to talk to this specialist. And I also know he's young, but like I do get nervous about what happens when he gets bigger, 12 and 15 and 18. He's already a big boy. And it's like, what does it look like? Am I going to have to, we're going to have to prescribe medication to modify his behaviors? Like, is he still going to be the same Lucas? Or are we taking a part away from who he is? So this is probably why I don't think about it too much. This is probably why I leave it to Jen, because I don't like to, I don't like looking at a life for him that we can't help.
I don't like feeling like Cassandra. You know, your mind gets ahead of you.
And then when you're ready, he will take that blindfold off and try to guess it.
So let's talk about the Beast Games. What you've thought of with this, how it came across your desk.
So going back to the theme of things kind of fall into my lap, in April of 24, I got laid off. Yeah. So I was working for a healthcare startup. I was leading kind of their sales and business development team. Funding fell through. And they kind of looked at me and kind of go, hey, sorry. And and it was one of the most amicable breakups. I remember, you know, talking to the CEO and talking to my boss and I go, hey, I love what you're doing. Thank you for the opportunity. It was also in the kind of the senior space. And, you know, I'm at home kind of going, okay, I get to be dad at home for a couple months. I'll figure it out. And I saw like on the website, like Beast Games Beast Games application, Mr. Beast. And I go, okay, Jack loves Mr. Beast. We started to watch it. Like, let me check this out. And so it said, largest competition game show in history, largest cash prize in history. And I'm like, okay, I don't have a job right now. Like, I think I can apply. So I set an alarm on my phone and write it on the whiteboard. Like, I think it was May 31st, last day to apply. Guess what? May 31st comes. I haven't applied yet.
Why?
A little bit of a procrastinator on some things. And it was probably part of my thing is like, I was psyching myself out. Like, I need to get a job. Like, who do I think I could actually go on a game show and win on the largest competition show? Like, I've never done a game show. And if you know Mr. Beast, it's like huge special effects, the biggest sets ever. My video was just on a webcam and Lucas was with me. And I just kind of told my story of what I would do if I won $1 million, why I want to do it. And I press send and I'm like, hope for the best. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get cast. Like, I'm no fun. And then a week later, I get a call from them. They're like, hey, we saw your video. We like it. We want to ask you some more questions. Fast forward a few weeks. They go, guess what? You're in Beast Games. And it starts in like 3 weeks.
Have you told Jen any of this at this point?
I might have led some breadcrumbs. But like the reason I didn't tell Jen was because Jen is the problem solver. So if I tell her I'm going to be on this, she's going to go, okay, then if you're not here, who's going to drop off the kids? Who's going to do this? And I'm like, I don't want to do that to her until I know. And so once I found out and I told her, she was excited.
She was?
She was like super excited. And it was one of these things where I knew I always had her support. And her and I are different in this way where I'm more spontaneous, more kind of risk-taking. And so she's kind of looks at me kind of like, I can't tell you no. Like, you have to do this. But one of my favorite parts is I leave and I kind of go, this is awesome. Like, I get to go and my goal is to tell Lucas's story.
Right.
And she looked at me and she goes, screw that. She goes, if you're going to leave, you better win this thing. And I'm in my hotel room going, has the game started? I'm memorizing serial numbers on the bottom of the lamps. Like, I'm trying to like.
Wait, why are you mememorizing serial?
Because I didn't know if the games had already started.
Oh, okay.
Like if they got us together and go, hey, first challenge is you have to recreate your room. Or like, I didn't know. Like, I was
getting ready for any and all possibilities.
Yes, I was so in my head about like
because you don't know what the game is.
I don't know, but I also understand like I'm probably the oldest person there. So I was definitely one of the top in the kind of the highest 10% of ages. Most people are in their 20s and 30s.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was like, and I'm like, I can't hide my age either with my hair. So I was like, I needed to have like an edge. So
You're not that old.
I know, but in Beast world, like Mr. Beast is 27 years old. People who grew up with Mr. Beast are in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah, I'm like Johnny Knoxville. So.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you too. So I was just trying to get my mind around what I'm gonna do, and then I realized like once I got in, I'm like, I need to make friends. Like this is a social game where like there's no way you're gonna get far on your own.
That's very Squid Games of you.
Yeah, and so like I like to ask questions. I like to be interested in others. So I just started meeting people. And I met an amazing group of folks on the first day who kind of I stayed with. And like one of my really good friends was with me all the way to the top 10. What I quickly realized is if I can just be better than 50% of the people on every challenge, you get to move on. So it doesn't like you have to be the best. So it's just you have to be better than 50%. And so the challenges go on, and it's once we got down to like episode 6, there was 60 people left.
Wow, from 2,000 down to 60.
60, and then I kind of go, okay, like, I just got more focused. They kind of go, hey, why am I here? What am I trying to do? And then I get into the top 20, and I go, I've been able to tell the camera about Lucas. I've been able to, people have interviewed, Jimmy's interviewed me and asked me about what CTD is. I'm like, this is awesome. Like I am telling Lucas's story to a global stage. And then I realized, oh, I can win this thing.
For your sake, do not let him pick this briefcase. He will take that blindfold off and try to guess it.
But when I get to the final 6, like it's real, and I look around and I know all these people. I've spent like 40 days with them, without a phone, without internet. Like you don't even know what day it is, what time it is.
What's the hardest part of all of that?
It's hard to be away from your family and not be able to talk to them. Like, this is the longest I never talked to Jen in my life. But the games were very psychological, very mental. They try to put you in situations where you're going to break or have stress. And for me, it was just always kind of going, why am I here? What is my purpose? Like I always told myself, I desire to receive the platform to be able to share Lucas's story. And then I got to a place where I'm like, okay, I desire to receive the prize so that I can share it with our community or share it with my family. So it just always came back to, why am I here? What is my desire? What is my purpose? And so even on the hard days, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, because I'm here. Like, it'd be much harder to look back if I quit or I kind of go, gosh, I can't take this anymore.
Right.
Or have that regret.
So you win. And then what?
At the end of it, we had 10 briefcases to choose where the $10 million check was in, and I got to go first and guess first, and I guessed it on the first one. And I'm telling you, it wasn't poker. It wasn't. I mean, I might have read her a little bit, but it was mostly divine. It was one of these things where I'm like, I know it's in this briefcase, and I knew it before the game even started. So it's just all of us kind of feeling out this new world. And I remember Jen hugged me and said, "We're going to find a cure for Lucas." And it's all a miracle, you know. And so much thanks to Mr. Beast and Jimmy and the whole team. Like, the fact that I get to tell Lucas's story to the world. But it's also tragic to think that I have to go on the largest game show ever for people to know about my son. But it was, yeah, it was amazing.
What did you do with the $10 million after the government took half, I guess?
Yeah. Well, the strange thing is the government didn't take half until it was due, meaning I literally got $10 million wired to me.
Wow.
Which is so bizarre. You know, like, I mean, and they didn't give you a ton of heads up. They said, hey, it should come in your account in the next couple of days. Within an hour, I could look at my account and I'm like, what do I do with this? And so first I called some professionals, some like accountants, tax strategists, to kind of go, what do I do to preserve this? And how can here's my aim. My ultimate aim is to make sure my family's taken care of, but also I want to fund research.
Right.
So what are some things I can do? So they taught me, I got a crash course in personal finance and tax strategy. It was amazing. So, I mean, I learned so much. I mean, and this is probably why I watched so much CNBC last year. It's because I needed to figure out what I should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really life-changing, not just for you all, but for other families.
100%. You know, and again, like, I think the check was for our families. Like, it's always a check-in. Why are we doing this? And are we staying true to why? Are we staying true to our aim? And so for us, we still live in the same home. We still drive the same cars. You know, not a ton has changed, but the urgency to kind of go, okay, we have this platform, we have the money to make a change for Lucas and for kids with CTD. Like, we gotta go.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no therapy for CTD right now. What's in the works? What's in the labs?
Yeah. So for 20 years, 25 years, people have been working on it. Things really changed for us in 2020. So I joined the board in 2020.
The board of?
The board of Association for Creatine Deficiencies. Okay. It's just a parent-led patient advocacy group. And we're the primary funder for CTD research in the world, aside from government grants. And so in 2020, we started the Gene Therapy Consortium, where we kind of created this friendly competition among researchers that we would help fund to try to explore gene therapy options. We also got a grant from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative to help build capacity for our organization. And then in 2021, we started investing into fellowships. So we would start funding fellows research fellows at academic institutions to try to kind of build the creatine researchers of tomorrow today. And since then, we've probably funded $400,000 worth of research funding in those 4 years. And then in the past year, we funded over $1 million.
Wow.
And to kind of give you perspective, the first 10 years of the organization, we funded maybe 50 grand.
Right.
So
money matters.
Yeah, so money matters a ton. So, and now we launched this thing called the Race for a Cure in 2025. That is like, we wanted the institutions to kind of give us their best plans ever to try to get us something to clinic. And we just announced that we are funding 2, one out of Stanford, one out of Johns Hopkins. We have Purdue's doing some great work. Some places in Canada and Italy are doing great work to do kind of drug repurposing and drug discovery. So there's things happening. The most promising right now is there's some pharmaceutical companies that are really close to clinical trial.
That would be amazing.
Which is huge.
Clinical trial for an ASO therapy, for what for clinical trial for what?
For a prodrug.
Okay.
For a prodrug that would get creatine to the brain. You know, and there's some researchers I've talked to who think that, you know, there's so much focus on creatine right now, kind of worldwide, for people like you and I to supplement with. They think that if creatine can get to the brain, it can help with some of these other neurological conditions, and whether it's Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or ALS. That's kind of in the very early research stage. But I feel like they think that if they can get creatine directly to the brain for kids like Lucas, it could help people who are older, who are suffering from some challenging neurological diseases.
For parents, the progress never comes quickly enough, even when it feels like it's moving at lightning speed to others. What have been some of the biggest frustrations or barriers you've run up against?
Yeah, I'm used to figuring out what I want to do or what I need to do and getting it done. I didn't realize how slow science is.
Yeah.
It's and science is slow.
I don't know if it's the science as much as it is the structure for how it develops sometimes too.
I agree. I think to try to get a therapy or treatment to Lucas requires first discovering it or uncovering it. Then it's getting it through regulatory.
Yeah.
Then it's commercializing it. And so there's so many parties that have to be involved that require money and attention and focus. And it's easy to want to throw your hands up and go, it's not going to happen.
Obviously, being on Mr. Beast got the word out. How does that exposure come back today? Where do you see it?
There's 2 ways. You know, I realized kind of winning Mr. Beast and winning Beast Games is like, okay, that's awesome. But like, what am I going to do with it? And so for me, like, I wanted to show the world and show the rare disease community that I can elevate everybody. So after that, I went and rucked across the state of California. So I tried to raise awareness. I'm going to do it again. So season 2 of Ruck for Rare is coming this spring.
What is rucking?
Rucking is kind of carrying weight on your back while you walk. So you either do it with a vest or a backpack. It kind of, I think it stems from the rucksack, like in the military. But so last year I rucked across California. This year we're going to do Ruck for Rare. It's called Ruck for Rare. And we're doing 5 marathons in 5 days, but we're carrying the weight of Lucas on our back. And it signifies the weight that not only Lucas carries every day with CTD, but the weight that families carry. And just our aim is to, you know, to elevate rare diseases, but also to raise money for research. And I did not expect it to be as fun as it was. So, I mean, last year we carried, you know, Lucas weighed 52 pounds at the time. We split it up between my friend and Jeremy and I. We rucked through 365 miles in like less than 3 weeks, but we had a blast. And the outreach we got from the community was amazing, from other rare diseases, other rare disease parents. So the aim here is just to elevate all rare diseases and show that, hey, we are carrying this weight for our families, but also for yours. And the ultimate aim is to have people get a rucksack on, and even just if they walk a mile, to be able to demonstrate that they're carrying the load with our families.
That's a great image to have that. How much does he weigh this year?
I'm kind of nervous to weigh him, but I think it's going to be closer to 60.
Just
yeah.
wait.
I know if I keep doing this every year, it's
Right.
gonna be.
Kaylee weighs 80 pounds now.
But even on the ruck, and when I walk with Lucas at home, Lucas and I go on a lot of walks. He's got a big wagon. Kids stop me, and kids say, "Where are you? Are you the Beast Games guy?" And the primary question they ask is, "How's Lucas? Have you found a cure?" Which is so cute that they have you found a cure, like it's like hiding, in a treasure chest somewhere. But they're truly interested. It's not like their parents are there saying, "Hey, you should ask this." And I think that's probably one of the biggest surprises. I did not expect kids to be so interested in Lucas, to be so interested or have that connection to kind of go, "Oh, this is a father trying to help his son. Is he doing better?" And so like even when I look at my Instagram DMs or messages, Lucas's name is in probably a third of them. So it's not about Mr. Beast. It's not about me. It's about Lucas.
I think that is something else that I would love to see too. I would like other people to understand what kids like Lucas and Kaylee go through, and to maybe see them and pay more attention and not be afraid of them. And I think what you've done has helped that tremendously.
Well, I think I've just allowed the space for them to see someone who's different on a different stage. And this is something when I talk to kids often, I share this, is like, there are kids in your network at your school who are different, whether they have a rare disease or not, whether they're special needs or not. Connecting with them, seeing them for who they are, matters. And not only matters to them, like not only matters to Kaylee or Lucas, it matters to the person. Like it changes you. Like when you're able to connect with someone who's different and truly care for them, it'll change you and change how you see stuff. And I think ultimately for the world to care about rare diseases, people's hearts need to be changed. We can't just have money be thrown at the problem. People have to connect to it, want to see it through, because it's hard. We've talked about it. It is hard to try to find a therapy. So we need people who are truly invested in it. So I think to be able to have kids connect with people who are different than them at an early age could shape the leaders of tomorrow in a different way. I'm telling you, Jen's heard me say it all the time, like, check out this DM. Can you believe they're asking about Lucas? It means so much to me to see that happen.
Okay, so let's get back to what your hope is for Lucas.
Yeah, being Lucas's dad is interesting because I feel like I've had a toddler for 8 years, and sometimes where I kind of like I even speaking to you earlier, I realized, oh, he's going to be 9 this summer. But he still is a little bit of a toddler. And in a couple of years, he'll be going through puberty and becoming a young man. And, I know our family can handle whatever it brings. Like we're going to. But my hope for Lucas is that I know he came here for a purpose. I know he chose this life for a purpose. Is that he continues to inspire others to allow his life to be a legacy and kind of go, I can inspire people to care about rare diseases. I can inspire researchers to try to find therapies not only for CTD, but for other conditions. Like when he and I find out each other's eyes and we connect, he looks at me and he's like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay, Dad. He's happy. He's in the present moment almost all the time. But I when he looks at me like that too, I know I feel he's saying to me like, hey, help me do what I'm here to do. Because again, it took me a couple years, but I realized finding a therapy for Lucas is not just about Lucas. It's about Rohan. It's about Cadman. It's about Brody. It's about Devin and Xavier. It's these other kids with CTD. Then it's also about other rare diseases. Because I can't imagine a world where rare diseases, where people can be diagnosed at birth and get a treatment and have a life of their choosing. Like I can see it happening. And I think like that would be the legacy that like Lucas, I imagine him at 50 and me in 85. And we're watching a show and he has creatine to his brain and he's not going to catch up right away, but he can communicate well and he can look back and go, we did something special, Dad. And again, it's all Lucas. It's all Lucas. He's a sweet boy. So that's what I would hope for Lucas. But he needs help to have his legacy be fulfilled too.
I love that. I forget what else I'm supposed to ask.
What's your hope for Kaylee?
I hope we can do something for Kaylee to let her communicate better. Because she communicates to me. I know everything she wants and everything she's thinking. I hope that she's able to be able to communicate as clearly to other people and to be able to find a purpose in life. And I think that's a big part of being happy in life. She's happy all the time. I want her to stay that way. I want her to be able to be more and more independent as we go along. And I want her to understand what she's building. I want the same thing you want for Lucas.
Yeah. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact families 5, 10, 20 years from now are going to benefit from the work we're doing. And I think that's what I had to get out of my own way and make it bigger than Lucas for me to be sitting here right now. Like I had to, and it's not easy. It's really hard to know that if we find a treatment for CTD, it probably isn't going to help Lucas as much as it's going to help a kid who's going to be born in the year 2030.
Yeah, I think about that all the time too. I hope it helps to some extent, but
we kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the bittersweet truth of being a parent of a rare disease child is we're going to find stuff for our children that is going to help for sure. Getting creatine to Lucas's brain is going to provide a marked improvement. But the true beneficiaries are families who haven't even started yet.
That's what they say, The tree that you find the shade under today was planted 50 years ago.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
This one's the clean one. This is not. Come here, Snotty.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you. Thank you for all the work.
This has been another Step on the Path, a podcast and videocast series with CNBC Cures, where we are trying to build a community and make walking the path of rare disease families feel a little less lonely. These episodes are available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Subscribe there and leave a comment or two. Tell me what you think, share your stories. We love hearing from you. You can also subscribe to the CNBC Cures newsletter for the latest news on rare disease advances, legislative changes, or personal stories of patients and families. Next time, we'll have an incredible story. KJ Muldoon, a child who was born with the rare genetic condition CPS1 deficiency, who became the first person in the world to receive a personalized CRISPR-based gene editing therapy. And by the way, it all happened before he turned a year old.
Hi. 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 Hi, cutie. Yay.
This brave little boy, who is widely known as Baby KJ, became a symbol of modern medicine after physicians at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and Penn Medicine developed the treatment that likely saved his life. I spoke to his parents.
They wanted to initially start talking about comfort care, so end-of-life care. But I just don't think we were at a place at that point to make that decision so hastily without giving him the chance to fight to see what he could do.
Stay with us here on The Path. I want to thank all of my producers at CNBC and all of our listeners as well. And we'll see you soon.